What if pain isn't the problem, but actually the pathway back to you? You're listening to The Leadership Wound, From Pain to Permission. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. This is where we get honest about the real cost of leadership, the burnout, the pretending, the rejection, and the return to your authentic self. Because this isn't about performance, it's about permission. Welcome to the leader you've always been.
So if you are unclear in this season right now, one of the truest things that you can say to yourself is, something is still happening. Even if I can't see it yet, God is at work, even though I cannot see it. And I'll tell you honestly, this has been really real for Doug and I. We've been holding space lately for all the unknowns that God is calling us into. We've been having those conversations where we look at each other and go, okay, we don't know exactly what's going on and how this is going to unfold, but clearly God is opening the doors for us. Clearly, He is at work. He has gone before us. He is laying the foundation. Welcome back to The Leadership Wound. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. If you're listening to this and you're in a season where things feel unclear, where you're doing all the right things, but you just can't see the results that you want, you're kind of like in that waiting and stretching, deciding, or maybe even risking, and you keep thinking, why does this feel so uncomfortable? Does this need to feel uncomfortable? I want to offer you a sentence today that might become one of the most important leadership truths that you learn in 2026. At least it is for me in my coaching, in my business, in my entrepreneur endeavors, and that is this. I can hold capacity and space for uncertainty. I can hold capacity and space for uncertainty, not just tolerate it, not just survive it, but actually hold it, carry it, stay present inside of it instead of running from it. Because here's what I've learned. Uncertainty, the uncomfortability that we oftentimes feel, it's not the enemy. Uncertainty isn't always a sign that you're off track. Sometimes uncertainty is the very environment where God is forming you for what you've asked Him for. And if you're a leader, an entrepreneur, a builder, a creator, if you're someone who feels called to bring something into the world, then learning to hold space for this thing we call uncertainty may be the difference between abandoning the vision and becoming the kind of person who can actually carry out the vision. I want you to think about it like this. How many dreams have you had that you've left behind, that got abandoned? Not because they weren't from God, but because the middle just got too uncomfortable for you to bear. Because the in-between is where doubt gets loud. There's a lot of noise going on in the in-between. It's where fear starts to negotiate with you. The in-between is where you start second-guessing what you said you wanted or what you thought you heard. So in today's episode of the beginning of this 4-part series, we're going to talk about why the ability to hold uncertainty is essential for any leader. And we're going to talk about why God sometimes allows this unclear space, and He does it on purpose. It's intentional. And there's 3 key components that will help you grow in your capacity. And that's what we're going to unpack in the next 3 episodes after today. I'm also going to share a little bit of what my husband and I have recently been experiencing in regards to this uncertainty and uncomfortability. Not the details of everything, but just the truth of the principles that I've been learning along the way. When God is doing something in real time, there's always a stretch that we experience personally. One of the most exhausting leadership patterns is believing that uncertainty means that something is wrong with us. that we're doing something wrong, that we heard wrong, that we don't know the full plan, we're not hearing correctly. This is an exhausting leadership pattern that a lot of leaders get into. And that is when we feel discomfort, we think we're making a mistake. That if we don't have clarity of the whole thing, then we should stop right now. But what if discomfort isn't a warning, but it's actually a training? It's training us to hold capacity. What if uncertainty is actually a threshold? It's something that we come to, that God meets us there. Because most meaningful things God calls people to do not come with a full blueprint. They don't come all mapped out. He doesn't give all the details, turn right, turn left. In scripture, he often gives direction, not a map. In scripture, the call often comes with a direction, not a detailed map. And one of the most grounding verses for me in this season comes from Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. It's not all in your mind from the neck up. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. And just a little secret here, his will is not the detailed plan. His will is intimacy with him. Notice what that verse doesn't say. It doesn't say, understand everything and then you can obey. It says, don't depend on your own understanding. It says, seek him, keep moving with him, and clarity will come as you walk one step, one foot in front of the other. The path is to light your feet, not the whole way down the road. So if you're uncertain right now, if you're finding yourself in a season of uncertainty and it feels uncomfortable, I just want to say you're normal, you're human. And I want to ask you a reflective question. Is it possible that God isn't withholding clarity from you to punish you, but he's actually inviting you into a trust that will form you? Because what's happening really under the surface when we feel uncomfortability and uncertainty? This is what I've learned. When God is preparing something new for us, in us, for us to walk in, it often starts underground. Right now, we're in a season of winter and the ground is just solid frozen under mounds and mounds of snow. But there are things happening underground that we cannot even see, that we won't see poking through from the ground until the spring comes. Roots are being formed before you see the fruit of them. Foundations are getting laid before the structure goes up. There's an inner readiness that is happening. It comes before our outer expansion. And one of the easiest traps that we can find ourselves in as leaders is measuring our progress by what we can visibly see on the outside. But so much of our becoming is invisible at first. That's why this verse matters. And I'm certain that God, who began the good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished. That kind of work demands a trust that is built with intimacy. It's not just around you, the things that are happening. It's within you. So if you're unclear in this season right now, one of the truest things that you can say to yourself is, something is still happening. Even if I can't see it yet, God is at work, even though I cannot see it. And I'll tell you honestly, this has been really real for Doug and I. We've been holding space lately for all the unknowns that God is calling us into. We've been having those conversations where we look at each other and go, okay, we don't know exactly what's going on and how this is going to unfold, but clearly God is opening the doors for us. Clearly, he is at work. He has gone before us. He is laying the foundation. And the specifics don't really matter, but the sharing of the pattern is what God is calling us to be attentive to. And that pattern is this: you feel called, you sense a stirring. There is something more for you. You get a glimpse of it, maybe a sign, maybe someone says something, or some things are falling into place, and you take the next step. And then, inevitably, you enter a stretch of uncertainty. While things are still forming, there's this uncertainty. All the details aren't there right before you, but your capacity is being strengthened. The more you can hold the capacity for uncertainty, the unknowing of what will come next, the more that you are creating space for God to move. But there's a cost when you're not willing to hold capacity for uncertainty. When you don't have capacity for uncertainty, uncertainty tends to produce this in you. It makes you be a control freak. It makes you rush into things, or maybe you over explain or people please or avoid taking the next step. Possibly you quit too soon. You force outcomes before they're ripe. And for entrepreneurs and leaders, that shows up as making reactive decisions just to feel relief, because you can't take the uncomfortableness, the uncertainty one more minute. And so you make a reactive decision. It also shows up in abandoning the vision because you don't feel like this discomfort is something that you can live into. Or perhaps you stay stuck in overthinking, paralyzed by the what ifs all the time. So here's another reflective question I want to ask you in the midst of this uncomfortability, in the midst of uncertainty. What have you been tempted to rush into or rush away from, simply because waiting feels uncomfortable? If you've ever wanted God to give you the whole plan first, you're not alone. As leaders, we want this badly. But often God gives us just enough light for the next step. And if we abandon it too early, we let go of all that we've been doing so far. That scripture in Psalms 119, your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. A lamp for your feet. It's not a stadium spotlight. It's not going to be showing visibility for 10 miles down the road. It's enough for the step that you're going to take next. And this is where many leaders get stuck. They want certainty before they're willing to be obedient. But God often develops certainty through our obedience. He often develops within us clarity as we are willing to take the next step. So here's the core truth for today. Your ability to hold space for uncertainty is directly connected to your ability to fulfill the vision God puts in you. And that's because He is the one who gives you the game plan, and He'll give it to you each step of the way. He doesn't want us to have the whole plan, because what will we do as humans if He gives us the whole plan? Well, I know because I've done it before. We run forward with the plan and we leave God behind. It's a grace that He only lights the step in front of us. It's a grace that He gives us uncertainty because it keeps us attached to Him. Vision requires endurance. And if we're not willing to wait on the Lord, if we're not willing to wait and hold capacity, we're not able to move forward with Him. Endurance requires capacity. So, how do you actually build this capacity within us? What are the components? Well, the first one is regulation. It's learning to stay grounded when your body feels unsafe, when your body is saying, I need to run, I need to flee, this is too uncomfortable. Uncertainty isn't just a mental experience that we have in our mind. It's actually a part of our nervous system experience. It's that fight or flight. When things feel unknown, your body, it detects danger, even when you're not in danger. And so in the next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about how do we regulate, how do we slow down, how do we return to our body, stay present to what is going on, and listen to it so we can hold space and capacity for uncertainty. The second thing that we'll talk about in the episode following that one is reframing, learning to interpret the in-between season with truth, What story are we telling ourselves about what is currently going on? What story are we telling ourselves in the in-between when we feel uncomfortable? If you interpret uncertainty as failure, you're going to panic. If you interpret discomfort as I'm doing something wrong, you'll quit before you're even there. But if you learn to reframe uncertainty as formation, as God is preparing the way, as there is more for me to learn right here, right now, it will provide you with the capacity to be able to implement all that God has given you. And in the last episode of this series, we'll be talking about our responsive obedience. What does it look like to take an aligned action without having the full picture, without having all of the blueprint? Capacity doesn't mean passivity. There are things for us to do each step along the way. It means you stop demanding guarantees or results right away, and you start responding faithfully with aligned, embodied action. If you find yourself in the messy middle right now, if you're holding a dream that feels tender, it feels out of reach, you've tried it, but you just have not been able to get there, no matter what it is, if it's in your relationships, if it's in your living, if it's in your leading, no matter what it is, if you find yourself in the middle, if you're carrying a vision that feels bigger than your current certainty, I want you to hear this. Uncertainty does not mean something is wrong. Discomfort does not mean you missed something. It just might be the very space that allows you to grow your capacity to continue walking out what God has called you to. And in 2026, this may be the most important leadership and living skill that changes everything for you. The ability to hold the uncertainty without abandoning yourself, your values, or your calling. Stay tuned for all the episodes. And if you find yourself in a season where you are desiring coaching to walk through this messy middle, I encourage you to check out my website, authenticleadershipcollective.com, and book a free call where we can start the conversation about how you can step into freedom right now and begin living and leading authentically you. Until next time, lead like you. If you've been sensing you're ready for the next step, more clarity, more living and leading with peace and freedom, then start here. Download your free Authentic Leadership Starter Bundle at authenticleadershipcollective.com, including 10 traps that keep leaders stuck, an 8-minute morning meditation to reconnect with God, plus practical tools to realign with your true self. And if you want support turning this into real lived change so you can live and lead like you, book a free call with me so you can begin today living and leading authentically.